Welcome back on The Leaders Who Care. As you know, we are on a mission to bring together some of the most inspiring, caring leaders of the world. And today, I have the privilege to welcome a very special guest. In fact, the first guest from Saudi Arabia, and somebody who is a true champion and ambassador for the country, Fahad Aljumayd, a commercial director at Torod, a Saudi national and entrepreneur from Riyadh, passionate about scaling businesses, driving innovation in his home country. Fahad is at the forefront of technology, innovation, economic growth, leading efforts to create impactful solutions that push the boundaries. So really a privilege to welcome you as our first guest from the kingdom. But also today, as you know, we have a twist. Today, be taking the role of a skeptical leader under pressure to innovate and learn from the Saudi best practices when it comes down to attract world-class talent. We'll explore whether the Saudi model for attracting world-class talent can be replicated outside the kingdom, and with its prestige, state incentives, and vast resources, can others follow suit, and could it be sustainable? So, Fahad, first of all, welcome. And I'm really glad to have you on today.
Thank you, Marian, for the great opportunity to be part of your great podcast and platform. And I'm happy to be the first Saudi guest on your podcast and share my experience, my insight on the region as a whole and Saudi Arabia in specific. I'm looking forward to it. I've watched a lot of your episodes, so usually you have great guests, and I'm honored to be part of that collection. And hopefully we share some good content and good insight about Saudi with your audience.
Very much looking forward to this, Fahad, and thank you really for being with us today. Saudi's been on the news a lot in the last few years, I would say, with all these great events, with all these mega projects, with all this wealth, money. When people even say Saudi, they're associated with a lot of wealth, a lot of money, something is going on. Now we're going to dive into all the successes. Is this sustainable? I will be playing a skeptical role, so for the audience, this is not my natural way. I'm just going to play a role here simply for the benefit of the audience, because there are a lot of questions that we wanted to dive into. And without further ado, Fahad, if you're ready, let's go.
Let's go. Ready.
Great. Well, many claim Saudi is building the next Silicon Valley, but ecosystems aren't made of, aren't made just of money. They require really deep-rooted entrepreneurial culture, risk-taking, and generational talent hubs. Can Saudi really foster that? Or is this top-down effort that many will struggle, or maybe even Saudi may struggle to sustain itself?
Well, that's a great question, and I think Saudi is not replicating the Silicon Valley model as much as reinventing how innovation works and operates in the 21st century and with all the modern technologies that we have. I think the approach that is being done in Saudi Arabia is unique. As a top-down approach, supported and fueled by a lot of government projects and under Vision 2030, of course, which is the master plan for the country to transform into a global economic superpower away just from oil protection. So building an ecosystem, it requires a lot of risk-taking, as you said, a lot of talent, a lot of collaboration between academia and entrepreneurs and private sector and public sector. I think what is happening in Saudi Arabia is similar to other innovation hubs, but it's very unique in its own way because it is very fast-paced. So the ecosystem almost very limited 10 years ago, non-existent as an entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem in the country. Not a lot of initiatives, not a lot of incentives, not a lot of VC capital as well. So that thing was changed in a short period of time because of the government-sponsored programs attracting local and global investors into the country and fueling the next wave of innovation by empowering the youth and the young population of the country. Saudi Arabia has a very young population. So building that ecosystem, the talent is there, the investment and the initiatives and the funding is also available. So just connecting them together and building the momentum going forward. Just to give the audience a context, I know a lot of your audience are coming from the business world and from the entrepreneurial world. In 2018, the total VC funding in Saudi Arabia, which is pure or core element of an innovation ecosystem, was around 80 million USD only. Uh, 2 years ago, in 2023, it was 1.4 billion USD. So we're talking 21, 22 X's as a growth in funding to startup. Last year was around 750 million USD, over 250 different deals in different stages in funding. So just this is to paint a picture on how the growth has been taking its route in Saudi Arabia when it comes to entrepreneurship and empowering the local startups. So having the risk capital, having the government projects, the government sponsored initiatives to empower the local entrepreneurs, having the talent. Of course, a lot of Saudis and me myself as part of that group studied abroad. So 15 to 10 years ago, a lot of young students went to the US, went to the UK, Australia, Canada. I've seen a lot of development, seen a lot of technology startup, seen a lot of entrepreneurial ecosystems. And I remember my first visit to Silicon Valley in 2015, and I was just hearing about Silicon Valley all my life. Then I visited the valley and seen all the legendary companies, just walking down the avenue and seeing all the great startups that came from that ecosystem. So being attached to Saudi Arabia, I wanted to build something similar into my country. We want to have a lot of startups, a lot of local products, technology products that can compete on the world stage. So back to your question, I think Silicon Valley is unique in its own way, in its own history. There was a lot of government intervention as well in building ecosystem like Silicon Valley. A lot of DARPA or NASA funded programs from the US, funded the start of the computer revolution and the internet revolution as well. So there was a lot of government grants and support, which translated to the Silicon Valley that we know today. And I think the same thing is happening in Saudi, but at a faster and a higher pace.
Okay, no, this is really helpful. Thank you for sharing the context, and that's an incredible growth from the venture capital funding. It's good to put it into a perspective. Saudi is attracting top-tier global talent currently, but retention is a true benchmark of success. Beyond the incentives and the infrastructure, what elements of lifestyle, purpose, or professional growth are keeping international local talent committed for the long haul?
That's a great question as well. As Riyadh, especially, which is the capital of Saudi Arabia, is becoming the forefront of all the innovation and all the ecosystem changing that's happening in the industry or in the region. So Riyadh is the capital. It has a great infrastructure. There is a lot of investment in international schools and different initiatives to improve the quality of life for international communities coming and living into the kingdom. We have a very unique set of cultures and traditions coming from the birthplace of Islam, very strong and deep-rooted history in the Arabian Peninsula. But again, we have our own culture. What we are trying to do to be more accepting and inviting to different people, different backgrounds coming into Saudi Arabia. And we're not trying to build like other models globally. Some global city will build a community for international or foreigners or expats, as they call them, to live in, to replicate a different model of their home country. We're trying to integrate the talent into our society. So we are looking at international talent coming to Saudi as part of the movement, part of the community, part of the culture, part of everything. So we want them to experience the whole Saudi lifestyle. And there is a huge investment in building, as I said, the infrastructure, the housing projects, world-class schools, education centers, universities. So retaining the talent will come with the challenge, of course, because you're competing on a global stage. There's a lot of great international hubs and cities for this kind of talents when we talk about tech and entrepreneurship. But I think the exciting thing about Saudi Arabia is the base that things are changing. So you're always getting into something new. So lately, in the past year, there was a huge infrastructure investment in AI. When AI is the next wave of innovation now globally, and Saudi committed over 100 billion USD into AI infrastructure in the kingdom, where it comes to data centers, GPUs and computing power. All of that is being poured into the economy. So for talented entrepreneurs, they wanna take advantage of the infrastructure of the investment and maximize their efforts. So I think the country keeps you going. It's motivating. Has a lot of energy, a lot of young people, and I think that will retain a lot of talent because the opportunity is just endless with all the giga projects taking place, all the new developments. And also one thing that is also very important to international community, and that also I think added a lot of value. Saudi is becoming a global sport hub. So there is a lot of sporting events taking places, world-class, large international events. We're talking Formula One, Formula E, UFC, all of the boxing fights are happening in Saudi Arabia. The investment in soccer players, attracting top talent like Ronaldo, Benzema, all the great players coming. So you have an actual entertainment ecosystem that's also strong to support a great quality of life for entrepreneurs. So I think retaining talent comes with a cost, and I think Saudi Arabia has the potential to retain and attract more talent.
Do you think can elements of Saudi's transformation be replicated elsewhere by companies or governments? What lessons can be drawn from the Saudi model that apply to organizations navigating disruption or scaling innovation?
Great question. I think yes, the Saudi transformation model can be adopted by different countries with different or even different companies and organizations. I think the pure or the most important thing that is leading the transformation is having a leadership that believes in empowering its people, believe in education and upskilling the population and investment in the future. So having the leadership that believe in the investment of the people as a first principle to success is very important, and also having the vision, the long-term vision, and the commitment to deliver that vision. So I think having a direction, everybody is working toward that direction. So when I think about the transformation that took place in Saudi Arabia, Vision 2030 was the direction that everybody sees ahead, and they want to get there, regardless of the industry of the sector. But they are all contributing in their own way, in their own KPIs and objectives and short and long-term goals to deliver on that dream. So I think having the leadership, the right leadership, having the clear and defined goals and mission that is to be fulfilled is also very important. Having the right direction and also having the will, I think, to overcome challenges. In the middle of the transformation of Saudi Arabia, COVID-19 happened. So people said that that will slow down a lot of initiative, a lot of projects because of the global economies getting a lot of slowdown. A lot of the growth has been medicated and when it comes to the US, China, big global markets, oil supply, all of that. So people were questioning the trajectory of the change. But now, as we actually speak last week, the Vision 2030 report, which is a great report that comes every year to update the public and the world about the advancement in achieving the mission and the objectives of the vision. So 85% of the projects and initiatives are on track. to be met on time before 2030. So even going into a lot of challenges that happened during 2020, we overcame that because we have the direction, we have the commitment, we have the leadership.
This is very helpful. I always say that the most important thing of great success in companies or countries, it comes down to one thing: hire exceptional leaders or have exceptional leaders. So I think you're blessed to have that direction with the leader and being able to drive, have that vision and unite the country. So that's for sure. However, there's a lot of really questions here when it comes down to resources. What about if other countries don't have the same resources? And may not have as much. I mean, they still will have, of course, resources and funds, but maybe not to such extent. Do you think that will be still possible, especially if they have the long-term vision and the commitment? What are your takes on this?
Good point. I think having the financial resources is very important to execute at such a scale. You need that infrastructure, you need that funding backbone to deliver this kind of project. But I don't think it's the only thing that you could look at it. Even in Saudi Arabia, there is a lot of investment attractions that happened. So a lot of global investors are actually putting money and betting on the future of Saudi Arabia. So the foreign direct investment index for 2024 was 25 billion poured from international investors into the country. So that's an indicator that you could, if you have the dream and if you have the vision, you have the direction, you have the initiatives, you have the people, you could attract international investments as well. If we look at places or different stories near Saudi Arabia. If you look at Dubai as a global city that attracted a lot of international investment into the city, beside the financial infrastructure that they have. So I think having the right plan and communicating the value to global investors, because now developing countries are the future when it comes to economic power. So everybody's investing in developing countries because they see the potential that could come out of these countries. So I think if you have the right plan, the right structure, you could attract outside capital to fuel your plan and your vision into a transformation. I think also one point that we have to mention beside the actual fund is the will of the people. If you have the will of the people, the belief that everything is achievable and attainable. 10 years ago, maybe it will be very different in Saudi Arabia than now. If anybody said we're gonna host the World Cup, nobody gets surprised in Saudi Arabia because okay, we will do it because we are doing a lot of projects at a large scale. So nothing now seems impossible. But 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that might not be the case. But I think one key aspect, and you know that better than me, about transformational leadership is changing the mindset of the people and making them more believe into achieving higher ends and higher goals, regardless of what the circumstances. If the goodwill and the will is the willpower is there, I think everything is attainable. Money is important, but it's not everything.
No, you've given a good perspective that you can attract foreign investment in Saudi. Certainly did this, Dubai did this. So that's for sure it's important, but there's a way also that you can do that. So the vision matters, and the ambition and the belief and the commitment also, and the long term, obviously staying for the long term. You mentioned 85% of the Saudi projects are back on track after COVID. I have heard recently that Saudi Arabia mega city, I think it was 160 miles or thereabout of parameter. I'm not sure of the exact parameters, but it's being reduced down to 5 miles. What's going on here? That's like a big shrink. Is that true, or just want to make sure that I get it from the source? What's happening with this project?
Of course. So you're talking about the NEOM project, which is the futuristic city of Saudi Arabia, where we are building at the northwestern side of the kingdom. And the specific project you're referring to is the line, where it's 170 kilometers long city in one line. The project has faced, of course, some obstacles. If you're doing this at a very large scale, this level of construction and development, you might face some challenges, but I don't think The challenge is that it will be reduced or anything. No, the actual project plan, the master plan of the project was set for 2040 because the project started in 2019. So the target date was 2040. So it's beyond 2030. It's the next vision of Saudi Arabia to deliver the Lion project. So I actually visited the Lion 2 months or 3 months ago, the area where the Lion is being built, and I've seen the development. Uh, just tremendous effort that's being taking place. You could see the construction level, the manpower that is there, the master planning in every corner you go in that city or in that region. So I think it's still on track. I'm not representing the entity itself, but I think it's on track. But the people confused that it will be delivered in 2030. Partially the project will be delivered in 2030, but the master plan for the project is targeted for 2040.
Thank you for clarifying. That's very helpful. So, coming back to the differences, especially Saudi's work culture is different from the West. How do you bridge the gap? What do you see as the biggest challenge for global executives adapting to Saudi, or how do you ensure they don't feel outsiders?
Yes, this also one point that a lot of high talented executives and high talented entrepreneurs would think about the work culture in Saudi Arabia. In my honest opinion, I've worked in the States and I've worked here in Saudi Arabia, and I think the difference is not huge per se. As the work culture here is more dynamic, it's more open. I would say most of the companies here, they have the startup spirit where you have a huge workstation and everybody just working next to each other. You have the dynamic young workforce, and also you have the exposure to global cities and global work culture. So Saudis are young, they like to travel. Many of them studied abroad. And we've seen and we have actually worked and lived with different cultures. And I think the work culture in Saudi Arabia is still competitive. It still has its own traditions and its own culture, but it's not that different from the West on day-to-day basis and work basis, because now you're living in a very globalized world, and Saudi Arabia is very centered to the global movement. We are very well connected. Most of the population is 99% of the population has smartphones and access to internet. So the population is well educated and they are well connected to the world, and they have a very strong, let's say, an outlook about outside the country. It might be some challenging in different or remote cities if you go working in giga projects and different places where you are working not in the city or not in the main hubs in the country. You might face some difficulties there, but I think overall Riyadh offer its own unique experience. Saudi offer its own unique experience while it's still local, but it has a lot of elements that is globalized.
So you talk about different cities that may have this challenge, but we're talking about Riyadh and how major Saudi cities like Riyadh obviously compete among with the leading international cities.
That's a good question. Riyadh, as being the capital and the birthplace of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi kingdom started here in Riyadh, in a small city inside Riyadh. And Riyadh now is positioned to be top 10 globally. That's our target in 2030 to be the top 10 global cities by GDP. So Riyadh has a lot of great infrastructure. It's a very huge city. It competes with the global cities like when it comes to finance as a financial center. Here in Saudi Arabia, there is the biggest banks in the MENA region, the biggest funding institutions are here located in Riyadh. When it comes to tech and technology, 40% of the total startup funding happening in Middle East and North Africa is in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. So you have the ecosystem of the entrepreneurship. Almost 50% of that is happening here in Riyadh. Riyadh GDP alone is over 400 billion USD. So it's a very strong and huge city. It has multinational companies, and it has the HQ of Aramco, which is one of the biggest companies in the world by market cap. Riyadh can compete because we are building an infrastructure that is expandable and scalable. We just announced a few years back that the new airport will be built in Riyadh. A lot of new cities is being added to Riyadh, as for example, Qiddiya, which is the biggest entertainment city, one of the giga projects planned to delivered by 2027, which is just 30 minutes outside of Riyadh. So Riyadh is expanding and is mixing entertainment, investment, and economic power into one city. And of course, it has a great culture and a great food culture as well. So that's all mixing up to deliver a city that has the economic power to compete globally. So people who are looking for a great career to start, they should come to Riyadh. Looking for investment opportunities, Riyadh is also very attractive. Other Saudi cities as well, they are also expanding and developing, like Jeddah, where we had the Formula One 2 weeks ago in Jeddah, and it's a coastal city in the west side of Saudi Arabia on the Red Sea. Very beautiful city. A lot of development is happening there as well. So yeah, developing the current cities and expanding in new cities. I think that's the plan of Saudi Arabia.
You're very compelling and convincing, but still I'm skeptical here. A lot of the Saudi growth is policy driven. So what happen if tomorrow the government pull back its support? Would the innovation economy still thrive? What's actually organic about this transformation?
I think looking at the movement and the whole transformation into Saudi Arabia, it is built to be sustainable. It's not built to be dependent on one factor or two factors. It's built to be sustainable. So the government investment is setting up the infrastructure, setting up the de-risking the whole investment for the private sector and other institutional investors, but at the same time laying the ground for future scalability and sustainability. I think in Saudi case, I think having the young population, 65% of the whole population is under 35. So you have the huge potential of a lot of young people coming into the workforce, getting inspired to innovate and develop and create. I think building a strong knowledge economy basis here in Saudi Arabia, we have great universities, great academic institutions, and also now we are attracting international universities from the US, from the UK to open here in Riyadh and to open here in Saudi Arabia to educate the future generation. So I think having the talent coming up and also having the infrastructure that is built to be sustainable, having the programs to continuous development and continuous business continuity in different aspects of the investment world. So I think that even if the government is reducing the funding or the support or the investment for whatever reason, the ecosystem is still strong because now we have serial entrepreneurs. I know entrepreneurs who founded 4 or 5 different companies in the past 10 years because it's becoming like an innovation ecosystem where everybody is looking for the next big thing, regardless of where is the money coming from, but they are still delivering, hiring, creating value, creating new jobs and new companies out of the country. So yeah, I think still it will be very sustainable because it's built on that essence.
That's very helpful. What is just looking at here in a deeper way, what is the bigger story behind Saudi's transformation? Why was now the right moment to accelerate?
I think part of it has to do with the history of the country. The country is still not very old. It's still a relatively young country. But the development, the economic development started in the late 30s, early 40s, when oil was discovered into Saudi Arabia. So a lot of oil reserves were discovered in the country. So a lot of international investment, especially American investment, came and extracted that oil and created a huge production infrastructure for oil in Saudi Arabia. That comes with wealth and that comes with economic power, of course. But the realization that we have with our leadership is that having one source of economic power and one source of income is not a good plan for the long term for future generations because the world is always evolving. There is a new energy sources. There is a new sustainability initiatives to change the sources of energy, and also there is a dynamic global power that is changing every day. So you're not dependent on one source of income for a whole country. So building an economy that is competitive, that is not reliant on oil only as a source of revenue, and also creating value and strong economic infrastructure for the whole country, because again we have a very young population and they are aspired to be something in the future. So what is special about this transformation? I think the base, it happens in a very short period of time and against all the odds, because so many people were not believers in that transformation, and so many people were questioning the scale and the magnitude of the transformation, because you cannot do all of that at once. But now as we see, everybody is realizing, the country can deliver under the right leadership, under the right direction. Everything is possible and achievable. And I think the unique thing about the Saudi experience is always having the belief in the country and its people, investing in the future education, future generations. Me myself, I benefited from government scholarship to the States, and I studied in one of the best schools, and I had a really good experience in the United States just because I had the opportunity from the government to learn. And the majority of people who go abroad, Saudi people, they always come back. I would say 99% of them, they come back. They don't stay in the West. They don't stay in the States because they want to pay back the country. They want to develop and help uplift the country. And that's a very unique character to the Saudi population and the Saudi people, if we look at it from that angle as well.
That is very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. But since I'm really a big believer that the most single important factor in an organization or country, it comes down to one thing beyond everything else, and this is come down to the who is the leader, the leadership. You could be one person or one hire away, one leader away from exceptional growth. Do you relate to that? Do you agree this is the case?
Yes, 100%. I think leadership uh, drive people toward a common goal, a common good. That happens on a country level, on a company level, on a even family level. If the family leadership plays a huge role in kids and the community. So I think having a great leader. So we have King Salman and his son, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is the crown prince of Saudi Arabia. The leadership believed in the future of the country. They believed in education and empowerment and enablement. So all of that comes to the population, and the population understand the responsibility. They see the investments and the value that the country has put in them, and they go with that. So I think having one leader, or I would say a mindset of leadership that is changing its culture, that change the community, change the way of thinking, the way of looking at things. It made a huge difference. That's also happened to me in my work. I believe that having a great leader in a company, when I don't believe in the leader of the company, I usually don't stay in that company, because I know I will not be delivering what I admire to or what I aspire to, because the leadership will not allow me to do that. So I think having the great leaders into an organization or anything that is a component of people is very strong element to success. So if we look at great startups or great technology companies, if we look at the great leaders of Silicon Valley, when we look at Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs or Sam Altman now in OpenAI, all these leaders, they have something bigger than themselves, and they actually channel that to their people and deliver great success.
I thank you for sharing this. I relate a lot to that. And if I want to innovate my leadership team, but I don't have the Saudi resources, what is the one playbook move from Saudi that any business can apply today to attract and retain top tier talent?
I think beside the financial resources, if it's not, of course, it's not always accessible and available to everyone. I think building a mission-driven organization that is doing something that just bigger than one product surface or one industry or one, trying to make a transformation, long-lasting impact, whether it's social impact, economical impact, or national impact. I think having that goal and that source of inspiration could do a lot of damage and a lot of success to organizations, because if you believe in something, you will make it work regardless of what the circumstances are. So uh, t- making excuses to not having access to capital and money. I was just watching an interview with Jeff Bezos when he was raising his first 1 million check for Amazon, and 100 people, almost 100 people said no to him, and only 20 gave him the $1 million investment. So if capital is an issue, you should fight for it. You should look for it in the right places, and you should make other believe in your dream and your ambition to deliver. Because at the end of the day, if we look at companies and organizations or even anything, what is it? It's people. If you don't have the people, if you don't have the team, nothing will come together. So I think having that belief in themselves, having the strong foundation and the clear vision and mission to deliver will overcome anything else, even financial obstacles.
Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been certainly very helpful. A lot of insights, sharing from the kingdom, from Saudi. Really helpful to understand and learn. And it's a good thing, good testimony if all of Saudis are coming back to Saudi. That to me, yeah, it's a testament to the leadership. And thank you for sharing that purpose matter. What you just described is like you need to have something bigger, something that has an impact, a meaningful purpose, and believe in it, and obviously have the leadership or the right leaders that can bring this along, bring the people along, if you like, not just themselves. It's really great lessons. I honestly believe and champion that you could be just one leader away from exceptional growth or impact, both whether this is at a company, country level, or a startup level, whatever you name it. So thank you for sharing this. One final question I have for you. If there were no limits, really, and you had all the, let's say you are the king, for example, or you become the unlimited power of the world, you have all the resources you need. What is one thing you'd like to change to make the world a better place?
Well, that's a great question, Marian. I think for me, I come from humble background, and I believe education is the key, most important thing to expand the human potential. Humans are full of potential, but having access to an opportunity, having access to a proper education is very important for human development. So I am always a student. I always love to read and study and learn a new thing. So I think one thing that I would change if I have all the power in the world is giving everybody an access to education based on their needs and what they're lacking. Because people at the end of the day, they want to improve, they want to learn, but they might not have the opportunity to have the proper education or training. I think now moving into the new age of technological transformation when it comes to AI and all the emerging technologies. I think upskilling people and training them and giving them a new access to the new modern world and modern economy will be also very helpful. So making educational accessible to everyone is I think that's one thing that I want to focus on.
Excellent. And before we finish, what food should I try when I visit Saudi Arabia?
Oh, Saudi Arabia is actually a great country with a huge diverse cuisine. We have a lot of great food, and this is the feedback that I get from my international friends when they're visiting the country. The food here is very good. There's a lot of options, but kabsa, we call it kabsa, is our traditional dish with a lot of fries and spices and meat and chicken come together in one dish, and it's very popular here, and you find a lot of great spots that offer that. We have the shawarma, of course, as well. It's very popular in Saudi Arabia. One interesting thing that we were always talking with my friends who are interested in tourism and traveling, and they say, why not? Our food is not being exported. We don't have a lot of Saudi cuisines globally. You don't see Saudi cuisines in New York or in London or Hong Kong or anywhere you go. And that's a very interesting point, but it's always linked to immigration because who export foods? The immigrants. They go to the new world, they go to the new country, and they bring their food and flavors with them. And from there, the Indian cuisine expanded, the Japanese cuisine, and the Chinese cuisine as well. They all expanded because of immigration. So I said, well, my friends, we don't have a lot of immigration, so our food will stay at the local level inside the country. So yeah, hopefully once you come, you will enjoy the great hospitality of the Saudi people and the great food that we have.
Well, with technology, maybe there will be Uber Eats for Saudi food, so we can order and with a fast plate we can deliver food. But this is interesting. But a lot of them you're coming back to Saudi, you're not staying, so therefore there's not a lot of Saudi food. That's a very interesting really observation. But really looking forward to try a different cuisine. And thank you, Fahad, for being a really a leader who cares, somebody who is an advocate and champion for your country, for Saudi Arabia, for the kingdom, and really being an inspiration for the next generation. Really appreciate you, and thank you for taking your time today. Really blessings to you and your family and country.
Thank you, Marian, for the great opportunity. I want to congratulate you for your great platform, all the guests that you have, great content that you're sharing with the world. Personally, on a personal level, I learned a lot from your guests and from your interviews, and I want to congratulate you on that. And I hope you keep going, providing this great product. And I'm very honored and privileged to be part of this. And hopefully, you will have more guests from the region and from the MENA region and from Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for your kind words, and
Thank you.
really all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.